So you ran the client configuration tool and you're all configured, and that's great, but you want to know what the heck did that do. So this video is going to go over. So it's actually relatively simple how the configuration was set up. So we're going to start with the shortcuts that it created, and we'll work from there. So if we take a look at any of these shortcuts, we will notice in the target where we have this little end piece. So we're setting ODOTcadd equal to 1 for these ODOTcadd shortcuts. And for the ODOTstd shortcuts, we're setting ODOTstd. So these are variables. So what this is actually doing is when you launch a shortcut and it loads up this product, it's actually passing this variable being set. And so we will then use that in the configuration to know, what standards to load. So I will not go through how Bentley is doing all their configuration, where everything is being loaded and all their config files, but I will show you how we're tying into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the C drive and I'm going to go to Program Data, Bentley, and I'm going to go into MicroStation V8i, Select Series, Workspace, and then Standards. So this is one of those locations that when you launch the Bentley product, it's going to load all the config files it finds. And so you'll see that you have a Z underbar ODA underbar redirect. So the client configuration tool will put this file here. So if we open it up, it's pretty simple. We have an if statement, and it says if defined ODOTcadd. So remember in the shortcut I just showed you, we were defining the ODOTcadd variable. So if we launch of the Bentley product from one of those shortcuts, it's going to define ODOTcadd. It's going to get to this config file. It's going to see that it's defined, and it's going to then, define all these variables. If not, it's going to move on to, there's an else if statement. And so this one's saying, well, okay, ODOTcadd isn't defined. Is ODOTv8i defined? And if it is, then it's going to do this stuff. If not, it doesn't do anything. So this gives us the ability to kind of do a workspace switch on which standards to load based off of the shortcuts. This way, if you don't use our shortcuts, it doesn't launch any of our standards and you can get out of the box Bentley. So that's kind of how we're switching on and off our standards, is through the shortcuts and then this redirect file. So the redirect, if you get into this if statement, it's just setting a bunch of ODOT stuff. So like where the standards at, this ODOTstd says where the standards at, the local where your user preferences at, where's your project PCF file at, blocking it. And then the most important thing it's doing is it's calling any config files found within this config standards folder inside of our ODOTcadd standards. Okay, so if I take a look at that, so inside of my demo folder, ODOTcadd standards, if I go into config standards, there's one config file called ODOTsite. This is our main config file that does all of the configuration work. So the reason why we did this was so that it's inside the standards folder, so that when you run the sync tool, if we ever need to make a change, you're making it here inside of standards, and we don't have to worry about updating that redirect file on every user's machine, which would be a pain. So it just makes configuration a little bit easier. So this is setting all of our stuff up. You can look through it if you want. This last part I mentioned in the last video about if you had some customizations that you needed to do, you can use that local folder. If you add a config, it's going to automatically load any config files inside that folder. And so that's how you can achieve customizations to our standards. Okay, so that's really it. I mean, it's really not that bad or complicated. I won't go over the ODOTv8i as that's really going away. It hasn't been updated, but it's set up the same in a similar way that this part is set up. So you should be able to figure that out just by looking at what these say. But that's it. Alright, so in the next video, I'm going to go over how to really get started with our standards, you creating a project and whatnot. So I'll see you in the next video. Just kidding again. I keep forgetting some things in this video. So only thing I forgot to point out was that this Z redirect file that gets placed in the workspace standards folder for all the products that the configuration tool set up. So I showed you MicroStation, but if I jump back and I go into Power Geopack, Workspace Standards, you'll see the same redirect file as well as View. Will have the same redirect file. So that was it. Now we'll move on to the next video.